वेलकम नमस्कार कैसे हैं सर.
Yes, all good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining in. I mean, we were just having this conversation with Mr. Saurav Sinha. I mean, your own alma mater, principal of Mayo
Yeah,
College.
he's the principal of my ex-school. So
Yeah, I remember you told me you studied at three schools. I mean, Mayo was one of them, and DPS Puram. You did your 12th. Perfect. Welcome, Kunalji. Mr. Kunal Bhadoo. I mean, I would like to extend a formal welcome to Mr. Kunal Bhadoo, the co-founder and executive director at Kunskapsskolan Schools, India. I mean, Kunal is somebody that has done phenomenal work in bringing, I won't say alternative education, but a disruptive kind of an education. I mean, I leave it to Mr. Kunal to talk about, how does he term Kunskapsskolan. I remember we had a nice podcast with Kunalji about a month back where we discussed in detail. But today we have limited time, so I leave it to him to discuss about Kunskapsskolan philosophy and the idea why he brought it to India. But I think stuff of dreams, the way he went to London, saw a newspaper ad talking about Kunskapsskolan and then reaching out to them on a cold email and then bringing them all the way to India to set up these fantastic institutions, not only in Delhi and Bangalore, but also in his hometown of Abohar in Punjab. So, I mean, I love the energy and we at Masters Union love the energy of, young entrepreneurs who build things. Kunalji has been building things and he continues to learn. I mean, when he came for the podcast, then also I saw him, that eagerness, that curiosity to learn and to understand, okay, what can we do new? What can we do? I mean, it's not that Kunalji will rest on his laurels. I think that's why we have come to celebrate Kunalji today also. I mean, the session title is Freedom versus Structure. How much is too much in alternative education? I know Masters Union, we are a disruptive school. We have disrupted the way higher education should be done. I mean, in terms of the business education, technology education, where should the campus be located? And we really appreciate educationists who are doing the same things. And I am the honor of having Kunalji here today for the Intersect Virtual Festival session 2. So Kunalji, over to you. When people hear alternative education, many imagine freedom, creativity, and flexibility. What do they usually misunderstand about it? I mean, there is this buzz term called alternative education. Do people even understand what is alternative education?
I think, if you look at it from a Kunskapsskolan perspective, then I would not call us as a alternative or an alt school. I would rather say that, we are how schools should be today. Relevant, yes. Preparing children for the future that they have to step into, not preparing them for our past, right? So that's the first thing. In terms of, yes, alt schools, when I, hear this term, I've heard a lot of this term in Bangalore, for example. We also have a school in Bangalore. So, on a lot of forums, I hear like alt schools, and there are a few alt schools in Bangalore, right? But the common misconception people have, with an alt school would be that, this is a school that's kind of very vocational in nature and, would lack structure, lack rigor. So, it's just in a very different trip, of what the founder feels is like very important and is catering more to the founder's own sort of say vision of how the world is. And maybe not fitting so well within, how the mainstream, the real world actually works. So that's, the common misconception that I have seen, when the word alt school comes into being. And I'd like to, through your medium, say that we're not an alt school. We are a school that focuses on personalized learning and focused on how learning should be.
Absolutely. Why I invited you for this talk, because I wanted to hear this only. I mean, you are one person where I can vouch for with confidence that you are doing the education the way it should be done. Sometimes when people use the word alternative education, I mean, it's about, okay, this is something that is, when we started out at Masters Union, they were calling us the alt school. And I'm like, no, I mean, this is the way that every school should be. I mean, we have to teach our kids to be ready for the world that they are going to, take over in the coming years. And we are just doing that. I mean, we are not an alternative school. The other schools should be called alternative schools. But I think And I also want to share my real world experience. I was in Mumbai. I won't name the school. I mean, it's a pretty famous alt school. Just in I think April, I was there with Pratham, and we were visiting the school, and we met the founder, and he's like, he actually said, okay, yes, we are an alt school because we do education in totally different way. But when I talk about even when the parents come to my school, and this is one of the most posh pin address in Mumbai, South Mumbai. He says the parents will still ask me the outcome in terms of what are the university admits that are happening. So I mean, he say, okay, they say, okay, yes, you do this, you do this. Tell me what is going to happen with my kid in terms of university. And are you helping them to prepare for SAT? Are you helping them prepare for the GMAT and all these exams? So he's like, in India, I mean, even though I try to run an alt school, the people come back to the same questions, and they are talking about finding that structure and similar outcomes even in an alt education, where the measure of success of a school is again going back to the same. So you have done a wonderful job of bringing Kunskapsskolan philosophy to CBSE school and trying to. I mean, I remember the last time we met, you were talking about how you curate learning experience for each learner. So please, can you talk about that? How have you given? I think this is very important. How you have given kind of structure, but then that structure also is elastic, that it can be molded according to the requirement of each learner that is in a Kunskapsskolan classroom.
Okay. So I'd like to just say that the Kunskapsskolan model that you have, which is followed in Sweden. One has to appreciate that every school will follow a certain model which will have certain influences ingrained about how the country or the system there is, right? I think if you look at Sweden, then generally it's a welfare state. I think people are generally well provided for, and I think there's no pressure there in terms of in India you have too many people chasing some very few high quality things. So I think the ask becomes very high, that as you just touched upon the topic, that after grade 12 what, right? I mean, you might be a good school, but okay, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you're preparing my child for real life, and real life for an Indian parent today is that a good school, after that a very good university, which will be a ladder to a very good career, right? So when we talk about structure, when we looked at the Kunskapsskolan model, how it's followed in Sweden, that is like even more hyper personalized, meaning that if you look at a day, then students have that much option to kind of see that if they want to learn a certain subject. So it is really up to them whether they will attend a lecture for that subject, or perhaps they will engage in some group study with a group of fellow classmates guided by a teacher, or perhaps they will just do self-study, right?
Okay.
Now, in the Indian context, we have to appreciate that you are following the CBSE. The CBSE has a certain structure, and you have to make sure that you are within that scaffold, you have those guardrails. So as opposed to perhaps if I look at the Swedish example, then you are looking at 3 or 4 different ways that you can go and learn in the the same thing, the same topic, or the same lecture in. Whereas in our schools in India, what we've had to do is we've had to adapt that you take that the broad ethos of the personalized learning program. So you're looking at you're factoring all the thing the same values, that you're not producing kids for like a factory model. You're appreciating that there are different intelligences, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences that you see people learn in different ways. Children learn at different paces. I might be a very good maths learner, maybe a not so great kind of say languages learner, vice versa. I may be good in everything. So everyone's different. And I think there, what we do at our schools here in India is that when we have embedded CBSE or Cambridge or the IB, is to have structured lessons in terms of that everyone is there, everyone follows instruction, understands the key concepts. At the same time, during the day, you have sessions facilitated where you have workshops, you have base group sessions, you have reflective sessions happening, which gives you a chance to step back and see whatever's been done during the day, that you can fundamentally ingrain that well into your head. Uh,
Mm.
so, um, so I think, having said that, that's what I'm saying, that structure is important. I would not say that not only in an Indian context, in any context, because when you don't know something, we've always seen that this guru shishya parampara, you need a guru to initiate you, right? And I think that's the universal truth. So, and that needs structure. At the same time, we have uh, opportunities available in our school, that within that structure there is differentiated learning. There is a system that makes you learn at your own pace, and you're learning by doing. So it's a very good hybrid combination of both things, structure and
I
free.
think absolutely. That's what I love about Kunskapsskolan. I mean, you said it yourself. I think one of you said when we were talking on the podcast, one of the parent was explaining to another parent what is Kunskapsskolan. So they you mentioned they do the CBSE the IB way. I think that is the easiest way in terms of what the audience can understand. But thank you so much for explaining it nicely again. The way you are trying to give structure, but also giving customized education in terms of the learner being at the center of that education and not rushing away with the pedagogy or the time frames that a student has to complete a certain subject by. So I think that question that also answers my next question that I had. I mean, is structure the enemy of learning, or actually what makes meaningful freedom possible? I think you have found a solution at Kunskapsskolan. Uh, but I mean, and that's just touching on this. Maybe if we can spend some time here. I mean, can too much freedom also? What do you believe? I mean, that was intentional that you wanted to bring this kind of structure also to the education. And you talked about Guru Shishya Parampara, and then difference between the society in Sweden and then here in India. So it was a very conscious choice that you made when you were starting out with this school chain. If you want to spend some 30 seconds on this idea again.
Yeah, just quickly, you see, if you look at, for example, like, students in Sweden that we have seen across the schools. I mean, when I exchange notes with my Swedish counterparts, so there, I think, there are some very good quality institutions of even higher education and everything. So I think students in school are spending time learning, with freedom, and learning in a way that's like, not very draconian. Because after school there are enough institutions that they have within the country, and good institutions, and higher education there is free. So
Yeah.
there is no dearth in terms of, like, that you're really chasing, too many people chasing too few things. And hence, as I said, that yes, the approach to education is more like, yes, you learn, you have to be rigorous, but at the same time, yes, you do it with that kind of freedom. So we always talk about these Scandinavian models, etc. Now, having said that, on this note, Kunskapsskolan in Sweden boasts that students score much higher above the national average that they have in their examinations that are equivalent of board examinations. But I think what structure allows us to do here in India, our parent aspires, a Kunskapsskolan parent aspires their child to be in top universities of the world after Kunskapsskolan. And let's know the hard truth, Ankur, that if you are going to apply to the Ivy Leagues or any of the top universities, an Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, everyone's looking, the first and foremost key to enter the first door is your grades. Right? If you
Grades.
don't have the grades, you might be, fantastic in a lot of other things, very good, but that's the first key. And then after that, it's everything else that you do. So you cannot lose sight of the first door. And that's what we do. And very happy to share, Ankur, that just recently, we had the grade 10th board examinations that just happened, and we got our results. And our students, while in Sweden we are saying that performing much better than the national average, I mean, I would say that our results are one of the best in Gurgaon.
Wow.
Among all the progressive schools that are there, my team showed me this year we have one of the top results in terms of. So I think there is academic rigor along with the fun of learning, the softer skills that you're developing, and everything happening in a way which is, I think, fun for students and not very draconian because of the structure also that we've given. So we've given a good mix of the structure and freedom. So,
I think
if
you're
you look
giving
at
them
student
best
agency
of both
also,
worlds.
student agency was one of the things that, you were talking about also in the past. And student agency is nothing about, in our school from day one, it's about the child taking ownership for their learning. Really knowing that you are here in this school because it is for you. It is not that your parent is sending you, so you are here for your parent. No, you are here to make your own life. It's very interesting that, if a child is reprimanded in our school, children get up to all sorts of mischief, and we are no exception. So it's a very interesting thing that the conversation in the principal's office, while sometimes the parent or guardian will be called, the conversation is between the principal and the child, not the principal and the parent. The
Wonderful.
Parent is a spectator, is a witness to that conversation, and the only reason is that parent to know what has happened and strategies to make it better, so that the parent can reinforce positive behavior at home. So everything in our school is about the child taking ownership of their life, of their learning, and student agency is at a very done this concept you can see at a very beautiful level in Kunskapsskolan, which actually makes students thrive.
Absolutely. So happy to hear this. First of all, congratulations on coming out with great results. I think your team is one of the best. I remember I have visited, I think one of the schools that I visit very often is the school Intersect ma'am is a principal of, in Gurgaon, right across our campus. That's where, a very dear friend, I think, and I've spent, I think, many days there. I think the way that she works around, I'm sure other schools as well at Kunskapsskolan's work in the same philosophy. And that's why the results matter. I think Shailaja in Bangalore has been doing phenomenal work. She was there. Both of Inderbir ma'am and Shailaja was part of Intersect 5 in February. They were here with us at the campus, spent 3 days with us and shared what they were doing on panels. And so it's no surprise that you are doing that. I think you have created that wonderful culture of having a structure, but also having an alternative education. And then the entire culture of what you said, the student taking the ownership of his own learning rather than a parent. And when you say that when a parent is called, the student is the one who is having that conversation with the principal for a challenge. That's a win. That's what if you are able to do that in the school level, amazing. I think you are amongst the few schools, and in my small career myself, I've traveled to about 1,000 plus institutions in 40 plus countries. I think this is what education should be about, just having that, helping students having agency, having confidence, having ownership. If that is done, I think then half the battle is won. And then once you mentioned that the outcome, again, if they want to go to top universities, about marks, so you cannot be as a school not talking about marks, because then what is the outcome? The kid has to go out in the real world, and what you're telling me here is absolutely music to the ears, and that is what you should be doing, and that is what makes your school stand out. Thank you so much for sharing those wonderful experiences and practices that you're following at Kunskapsskolan. So now coming to the team, as you mentioned, Kunskapsskolan is not alternative education, but you still require a different kind of teacher, right, to teach in this space, because not many schools in the country are following this model. So how do you ensure that you get the right kind of teacher in the classroom, and that training and that mindset and that culture is reinforced on a timely basis in an academic year?
So I think teachers, firstly, our selection process is very, very rigorous. When I tell people, they almost get scared. It is like 5 different rounds of screening before they finally have a decision to, we give them the key that, okay, that's your key to Kunskapsskolan. Right from an initial HR executive to someone in terms of the school, like for their subject expertise by like a fellow teacher, to the coordinator, to the principal, and the final gatekeeper is me myself, sitting at the final door. So for me it's important to see that they are organizationally aligned. uh, all I ask them, I ask them just one simple question, and I ask every teacher that I've interviewed in my life, and I will continue to do so till eternity, is why Kunskapsskolan? And that question for
Mm.
me is an absolute deal maker or deal breaker, because you need to be coming into Kunskapsskolan really knowing what you are getting into, that you believe in the values and ethos what Kunskapsskolan is. You are not applying here, you are not coming here because it's some really fancy Swedish brand
Yeah.
to kind of work for, or something international, and hence a good pay packet. Yes, all these things are there, but I think as a school you need to be invested in my values and ethos. And I think, again, as you said, that if they are, then half your job is done. They've been evaluated for other parameters, and then we have a very strong professional development and continuing professional development program, a very strong mentorship program for teachers when they join. The main emphasis is to make teachers ingrain in them that you are a facilitator and a mentor for students.
Mm.
You are not an instructor, right?
Mm.
They know you are, perhaps you are steering them. The analogy that I use is that perhaps, yeah, I mean, you are their guru, at the same time you are a guardrail, right?
Mm.
You're not someone who is like steering them, holding their finger and guiding, directing them where to go. You are giving them the knowledge of the world,
Absolutely. Very nice.
facilitating that, and being like a silent guardrail, an invisible guardrail, to keep them, just get them back when you see that they are drifting on a path that may not be the best.
Absolutely. It's so wonderful to hear that. Thank you so much. I'm also conscious of the time. We have Viva ma'am joining in just about 4 minutes, the principal of Wellens. So stick around for those who want to listen into Viva ma'am. She is also talking about a very relevant topic. But before we go, we have 4 more minutes with Kunalji. Please, anybody in the audience, please feel free to put in your comments in the chat box. If you have any questions, if you want to share feedback, please feel free to do that. But Kunalji, finally, I mean, my final question to you is, in terms of the kind of students that thrive in a Kunskapsskolan environment. I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, it's a very different kind of an approach, and so it will require a certain kind of a student and families also, because education is again not only dependent on the child but the family also that is going to help the kids. So what do you want to talk about the kind of students that you see in your system and schools, and couple of examples that you may want to share from there?
I think, see, children at that age, when they join us, because we're a K-12 school, we start from, in fact, we're a T-12 school, we start from toddlers, 2 years and upwards. So I think at that age, when the intake is, most of the intake happens, like, people in Kunskapsskolan are following that journey right from the early years up to grade 12. And, at that age, I think children are reflections of their parents. They are there for the aspirations that their parents have, right? In my podcast with you, I told you, I said that, what made me bring Kunskapsskolan really into India was one central fact, that where I sat one day and I just looked back and I said that if someone has to reach here in a meaningful, structured way, rather than the roller coaster that I rode, and the waves that swept me there, will require perhaps the academic rigor that you need, along with the skills that are required to get here. And given the school time is finite, you have to basically marry them both, that in that finite time, how you can intertwine both. So I think parents today that we have, generally you would see, are very well educated people in good careers, who do realize that the education that we went through in the yesteryears, that education itself perhaps is not as adequate for the current time. And I would like to have the opportunity of really having a school for my child which actually prepares them for the future, with the academic rigor, but more importantly with the skills and the real world skills to make them truly future ready, that they speak the language of the world. They are, different, they bloom at their own pace, but yet, as I said, not all school, in the mainstream, they are able to flourish and become leaders in whatever field they may choose. So that is a Kunskapsskolan's parents' aspiration, who want all this, but happening in a way which is not draconian, happening in a way
Absolutely.
which is fun, which is, I think, if I can use the word that, it's chilled out. It's not, that you moment you walk into school, and I would say the way we've been doing it, as I said, proof is in the pudding, as you said. The Indian parents, they want marks. Okay, everything good, but what did you score?
Absolutely.
And our kids have been getting into top universities of the world, getting very good academic results, and we're very fortunate to have a fantastic team of. I would say that 90% of the credit goes to my teachers, my educators, my education leaders, who've translated this vision. Otherwise, a lot of people can have vision, but that vision translated into reality is because of the strength of my people that we have in our organization.
Absolutely love it. And Indrabir ma'am has mentioned in chat, personalized education at its best. I'm so glad to be part of this institution. I think that says it all. When a celebrated principal like Indrabir is talking, has been with you for many years, it talks about the institution that you have built. It's such an inspiring individual. Is happy and thriving. And I've been when you say chilled out, I think that's the term. When I visit your school, it's about chilled out. When I'm with Indrabir, ma'am, it's about chilled out, but results are happening. So, oh yes, SEEP is also here. SEEP is doing some fantastic work in career counseling space at the school. Happy to be part of Kunskapsskolan. Thank you, SEEP also. She has hosted us along with Indrabir ma'am at the school. So thank you, Kunalji, for another good conversation. Last thing, tell me, when are you opening in Faridabad? We should have a school there. I will put my daughter Kunskapsskolan because I stay there. But so happy and excited to hear from you, and always an honor and a pleasure. Another one. Yes, Kunskapsskolan should open a teacher training institute. India needs it. Captain Hamir Singh Rathod. I agree. We should have it. Maybe next conversation will be on that with Kunalji. Thank you so much. Honor, Kunalji, for being here.